March 15th, 2019, 2:30 in the afternoon. That's when Dr. Martinez grabbed my wrist and said the words that should have changed everything. "Eugene, these foods are killing you." I was 89. I thought I knew better. I was wrong. The smell of that hospital room still haunts me, antiseptic mixed with fear. But it wasn't the fear you'd expect. It was the fear of admitting I'd been a fool for 24 years. See, I'd been eating what every magazine, every TV doctor, every well-meaning neighbor called heart-healthy foods. Whole grain cereal every morning, low-fat yogurt with artificial sweeteners, and those omega-3 enriched margarine spreads. Dr. Martinez had been telling me for years to stop. "Eugene," he'd say, "these aren't helping your heart, they're hurting it." But I was stubborn. I was 65 when he first warned me. Seemed young then. I had energy. I felt fine. What did he know that I didn't? What did he know that the American Heart Association didn't know? I'd point to the little heart symbol on my cereal box. "Look, Doc, heart healthy. It says so right here." He'd shake his head. "That symbol doesn't mean what you think it means, Eugene." But I kept eating them, every single day, for 24 years. The whole grain cereal first. Every morning, same routine. Pour the bowl. Add the low-fat milk. Read the newspaper. Feel good about myself for making healthy choices. The cereal tasted like cardboard soaked in water, but I choked it down. Because it was supposed to be good for me. Because the box said so. Because everyone said so. What I didn't know then was that whole grain cereal, especially the processed kind I was eating, was spiking my blood sugar higher than regular sugar would. The fiber they stripped out during processing and then added back in artificial forms. The inflammatory seed oils they used to keep it crispy. The high glycemic load that was stressing my pancreas every single morning. My body was fighting a war I didn't even know was happening. Then came the yogurt. Low-fat Greek yogurt with artificial sweeteners, sometimes blueberry, sometimes vanilla, always with that chemical aftertaste I convinced myself I liked. I'd eat it as a snack, proud of myself for avoiding real sugar. What I didn't understand was that the artificial sweeteners were confusing my body's insulin response, creating cravings, disrupting my gut bacteria. And the low-fat part meant they'd remove the natural fats my heart actually needed and replace them with inflammatory additives to make it taste like something other than sour milk. Dr. Martinez tried explaining this in 2007, then again in 2009, and 2012, and 2015. Each time, I'd nod politely and ignore him completely. I trusted the marketing more than I trusted my doctor. That's a sentence I never thought I'd say out loud. But it's true. I trusted food companies more than the man who'd been studying hearts for 30 years. The third food was the worst, those omega-3 enriched spreads, the margarine that promised to protect my heart. I'd slather it on whole grain bread, feeling like I was doing everything right, building the perfect heart-healthy sandwich. The irony tastes bitter now, like the aftertaste of those spreads themselves. Most people walk away when stories get this heavy. The fact that you're still listening, that means something. Hit subscribe. I've got more to tell. See, those spreads weren't protecting my heart. They were loaded with trans fats disguised as partially hydrogenated oils. Even after they removed most trans fats, They were still using inflammatory vegetable oils, soybean oil, corn oil, oils that were never meant to be consumed in the quantities I was eating them. My arteries were getting more inflamed with every bite I thought was helping them. The omega-3s they added? Synthetic, processed. Nothing like the omega-3s you'd get from real fish or grass-fed beef. It was like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound while continuing to shoot. For 24 years, I was poisoning myself slowly, methodically, with the blessing of every health authority I trusted. My cholesterol climbed, my blood pressure rose, my energy disappeared. But I kept eating the same 3 foods every day because they were heart healthy. By 2015, I was taking 4 different medications: blood pressure pills, cholesterol medication, something for inflammation, something else for circulation. Dr. Martinez would look at my test results and shake his head. "Eugene, we need to talk about your diet again." "But doctor," I'd say, "I eat perfectly. Look at my food diary." I'd show him my careful notes. Whole grain cereal, check. Low-fat yogurt, check. Omega-3 spread, check. He'd sigh. "Eugene, what if I told you those foods are the problem?" "That's impossible," I'd say. "These are recommended by every heart organization in the country." "What if every heart organization in the country was wrong about these specific foods?" he'd ask. I'd laugh. Not a mean laugh, just dismissive, like he'd suggested the moon was made of cheese. How could every expert be wrong? How could the American Heart Association be wrong? How could decades of nutritional science be wrong? But they were, all of them, and Dr. Martinez knew it. He'd been watching patients like me deteriorate for years while eating foods marketed as healthy. He'd seen the studies that the food companies buried. He'd watched the cardiovascular epidemic grow worse, even as people followed official dietary guidelines more carefully. In 2017, I had my first real scare. Chest pains during my morning walk. Sharp, stabbing pains that dropped me to my knees right there on Maple Street. Mrs. Henderson found me gripping the sidewalk like it might float away. The paramedic said I was lucky. No heart attack, just severe inflammation around my heart. Pericarditis, they called it, caused by chronic inflammation in my system. Dr. Martinez visited me in the hospital that night, sat in the plastic chair next to my bed for almost an hour. "Eugene," he said, "I'm going to ask you one more time. Would you stop eating those 3 foods?" I looked at him, really looked at him. This man who'd been trying to save my life for over a decade, while I fought him every step of the way. "What would I eat instead?" I asked. He smiled. First time I'd seen him smile during one of our food conversations. "Real food, Eugene. Eggs, butter, meat, fish, vegetables. Food that doesn't need a label telling you it's healthy." "But the cholesterol," I started. "The cholesterol in food doesn't cause the cholesterol problems in your blood," he said. "The inflammation from processed foods does. The sugar spikes from whole grain cereals do. The artificial chemicals in low-fat products do." I wanted to argue. 24 years of belief don't die easily. But lying in that hospital bed, feeling the weight of every pill I took, every symptom I'd learned to live with. Every morning I woke up more tired than when I went to sleep. Something cracked open inside me. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'd been wrong for 24 years. Maybe admitting that wasn't weakness. Maybe it was survival. I read something that changed everything. It said patience after 60 is the fastest way to die forgotten. My doctor said wait. I stopped waiting. That guide is in the description below. I went home and threw away the cereal. All 6 boxes I had stockpiled from the last sale at Walmart, into the garbage. The low-fat yogurt followed, the margarine spreads, every single container. My kitchen looked empty, foreign, like I'd removed the foundation of my daily routine, which, I suppose, I had. The first week was strange. I ate eggs for breakfast, real eggs, cooked in real butter. Toast made from bread that didn't claim to be anything other than bread. The food tasted different, richer, more satisfying. I wasn't hungry again an hour later, like I always was after the cereal. By the second week, something shifted. I woke up less groggy. The afternoon fatigue that had plagued me for years started lifting. My mind felt clearer, like someone had wiped a film off a window I didn't know was dirty. Dr. Martinez wanted to see me after a month. I dreaded that appointment. What if nothing had changed? What if he'd been wrong too? What if I'd thrown away 24 years of careful eating for nothing? But the blood work told a different story. My inflammatory markers had dropped, not a little, dramatically, more than they'd improved in years of medication adjustments. My blood pressure was better. My cholesterol ratio had improved. Dr. Martinez studied the results twice before looking up at me. "How do you feel, Eugene?" "Better," I said. "Better than I have honestly, I can't remember how long." "The foods you were eating were creating chronic inflammation in your cardiovascular system," he explained. "Your body was fighting those foods every single day. Now it can focus on healing instead of defending." That was 5 years ago. I'm 94 now. I take half the medications I was taking at 89. My energy levels would embarrass men 20 years younger. I sleep through the night. I wake up refreshed. I can walk 3 miles without stopping. 3 miles at 94. All because I stopped eating foods that claimed to be healthy but were slowly destroying me. The whole grain cereals that spiked my blood sugar and caused inflammation. The low-fat yogurt loaded with artificial chemicals that disrupted my metabolism. The margarine spreads that inflamed my arteries while promising to protect them. These weren't foods, they were products. Manufactured products designed to solve problems they created. The cereal companies created blood sugar spikes, then sold you more processed food to manage them. The yogurt companies removed natural fats your body needed, then added artificial chemicals to replace what they'd taken. The margarine companies created trans fats, then reformulated with different inflammatory oils and called it an improvement. I was part of an experiment I never signed up for, an experiment that lasted 24 years of my life. The saddest part isn't what happened to me, it's what's still happening to millions of people right now. They're eating the same 3 foods I ate, trusting the same labels I trusted, following the same advice I followed. They're getting sicker while trying to get healthier. They're taking more medications while eating better. They're aging faster while doing everything they're told to do. And their doctors are as confused as I was because they learned the same nutritional myths in medical school that the rest of us learned from food companies masquerading as health authorities. After everything I went through, I found the 60-year rule. It has 9 rules that explain exactly why everything I believed was wrong after 60. It changed how I see my family, my health, my money, everything. Check the description. The real tragedy isn't that I wasted 24 years. It's that I almost wasted the rest of my life too. I almost died believing lies that food companies spent billions of dollars convincing me were true. But I didn't die, and neither do you have to. The 3 foods that nearly killed me are probably in your kitchen right now, sitting there with their heart-healthy labels and their medical endorsements and their promises of better health. They're lying, all of them, every single claim on every single package. I know because I lived the lie for 24 years. I paid for that lie with my health, my energy, my peace of mind, and almost my life. But you don't have to. You can stop today. You can throw them away today. You can start eating real food today. Dr. Martinez was right. He was right in 1995 when he first warned me. He was right in 2007 when he pleaded with me. He was right in 2017 when he asked me one last time. He was right and I was wrong, and admitting that saved my life. Sometimes being wrong is the smartest thing you can do. Sometimes the hardest words to say are the ones that set you free. I was wrong. I was wrong about those foods. I was wrong to trust marketing over medicine. I was wrong to value convenience over health. I was wrong for 24 years, and being wrong almost killed me. But admitting I was wrong, that's what saved me. That's what gave me these extra years. That's what let me walk 3 miles at 94. That's what put the light back in my eyes, and the strength back in my step, and the hope back in my heart. Those 3 foods are still on the shelves, still making the same promises, still wearing the same labels, still fooling the same people. But they're not fooling me anymore. And if you're still listening to this old man ramble about breakfast cereal and yogurt and margarine, maybe they don't have to fool you either. Maybe you can be smarter than I was. Maybe you can listen to your body instead of advertisements. Maybe you can choose health over convenience, truth over marketing, real food over processed products wrapped in healthy promises. Maybe you can save yourself 24 years of slow poisoning disguised as self-care. Maybe you can start today. I did. At 89, I finally started. At 94, I'm still here to tell you about it. And that, I think, makes all the difference.